So Joe Ajaero, the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, shared details about his recent ordeal with the Department of State Services. He was detained for 16 hours at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, where his phones and international passports were confiscated. According to Ajaero, those items have been returned to him, and he explained that during his detention, he was interrogated not only by the DSS, but also by operatives on the Police Intelligence Response Team, IRT. He noted that the IRT questioned him about same issues they had previously asked during a meeting on August 29, 2024. The questions focused on his relationship with the operator of Iva Valley Bookshop at the NLC Secretariat, as well as his connections with certain protesters, including Aleojo Opaolua, on an employee of the National Union of Electricity Employees. Now, Ajaero was also questioned about the Labour Party, where he clarified that while the NLC is a trustee of the party, they do not run it. Ambassador, take note. He further mentioned that the Labour Party was founded during Adams Oshomole's tenure as NLC president. Lastly, Ajaero stated that the security agents seem to be searching for evidence to incriminate the NLC, highlighting ongoing attempts to intimidate, embarrass, and persecute him. Now, he said it seems like they were just looking for a way to just cow us in. They're just looking for evidence anywhere. They're asking me questions they've asked me before, conversations we've had before. In fact, why did they even have to embarrass me like that at the airport? And these were the statements of Joe Ajaero. Nigerians have been wanting to know what happened during that arrest. Yes, Chuba.
Very simply, I think it's an embarrassing situation, not just for Joe Ajaero, but I think for the Nigerian state. But however, like I said before, we might be pretentious and we want to be politically correct about the analysis of the state of the nation or about the political class today. But this is our reality. It's a painful one. A lot of people that have been impostors claiming to be Democrats in our political space, but we have seen over and again when given opportunity, they are more of dictators than even the dictators they fought at some point in time. However, the Joe Ajaero issue is one that is hitting the front burner in this manner because everybody believes for to a large extent, it's a diversionary tactics by government.
Really? For
me, it's a diversionary tactics by government because, like you said, you heard Joe Ajaero say, as a matter of fact, these same issues that he was being, or they interrogated him about, were already, information about these matters were already on the table of the IRT of the Nigerian police. So obviously, they have asked him the same questions before, same questions he have answered, he has given them the information, and if there are investigations should be ongoing and what it ought to be. And by law, to the little level I have, to my knowledge, before you invite somebody, somebody must know the subject matter upon which you are inviting him or her. For taking him in the way and manner they took him at the airport when he was going for an international appointment, obviously you should know that if his seat is empty, the people or the organizers will ask questions, and when they do, they will now say the Nigerian government had, in a Gestapo manner, apprehended him in the way and manner they did, and without keeping him incommunicado to anybody at some point in time. These were the reasons. How do we present ourselves in the Committee of State? These are serious issues. But for me, like I said earlier, it's to me a large level, it's a diversionary measure because it all happened at the heat of when this funny fuel issue just came up the way it was, and Nigerians were trying to look for a means to work out one or two. And do not forget, when Joe Ajaero, in the detailed information, he clearly stated that they equally asked him what were his connections with the end bad government protests. Yes. And he clearly told them that NSC clearly came out and said they were not part of it. And today, I think they are regretting that because if they were part of it, it would have had a better momentum because all Nigerians need is direction. At the end of the day, if you have people that are started the leadership, at no matter how the level, you should understand that for every office, there are hazards. And when you are an activist or a union leader to the level of an NLC, when people talk about protest in any form that has any correlation with you, you ought to see yourself as spearheading that be part of it, so that you can give a guide to it. So for me, it's another one of too many rascalities of the present administration. It's another one or too many rascalities of our previous government that they are blowing to the high heavens because to a large extent, they have just, whatever they have done, only God knows, but they think they are controlling the people. But I always say that for clarity and for posterity's sake, physics always talks about elastic limit. There is a limit that all of these oppressions and funny characters can go. And when that time comes, the whole elastic has a problem.
We keep hearing Nigerians make reference to this particular example. I don't know what would happen when that elasticity is no longer there. But then on Ajaero now, we were told, Femi Falana said the other time that the reason he was arrested was different from the reasons that Nigerians have in mind, or it was for a different reason, that's how I put it. And that the reason he was arrested was because he was invited for interrogation and he did not go, and then he was traveling out, so they had to arrest him.
With all due respect to Femi Falana, he has served and is still serving, and we will always respect him. And like I said, sometimes it's never a proud thing, or it's never a fun thing to sit on the camera like this. But if I listen to Femi Falana very well on the channel's television, he clearly told the world that Ajaero will be released, and he was not arrested for the reasons why he was not arrested for the reasons that he was previously accused of. And what's it called? You said something now that, but he never made mention. But when I saw on the print media, because when he was on a live television like I am right now, speaking from his lips, he never made mention that Ajaero was invited anytime. And the NLC spokesperson came out to the world to tell the world that he was never even given an invitation by the DSS. How much more that he was not only apprehended by the DSS, but the IRT department of the Nigerian police came to equally extend that interrogation. Listen, we might be playing with a lot of very serious issues, and I pray and hope that stakeholders do not get themselves into the murky waters of the political class and embarrass the Nigerian state to the lowest state. The truth cannot be overemphasized. This is an affront on democracy. This should be condemned by all assembly, including Femi Falana himself, even whatever office he holds in line with the government of the day or the Nigerian police. This is not an action that should be applauded. Right. So for me, if you have a high-profile person of this nature that is supposedly adjudged to be a people's advocate in one way or the other, I think we should have some exceptions in the way and manner we handle issues, not to always bring the country and the nation to a level of...
All right, the federal government made a comment on this particular story where they have said that nobody is above the law. And that was when it was pre-mentioned about his being invited and him not going and wanting to travel out and all of that. I'd like to get your thoughts generally on this story.
Well, I've said here repeatedly that nobody is above the law. And the Constitution of Nigeria has in no way given the Labour president immunity. So he's not among those who enjoys immunity. And that does not mean that things that are not properly done should not be done rightly. I've said here over and again that if there is an invitation, remember when this invitation issue came up, when people were threatening strike, I said it's of no point. All you can do as fellow comrades and union leaders is to accompany the NLC president to the police invitation.
Which they did.
Good. That was enough solidarity. And then if there at any point there is reason for interrogation on issues that has to border on our national security, nobody is exempted. With the fact that my senior brother and comrade is the NSA president, it doesn't exempt him from police invite or DSS invite. And the good thing is that at the end of invitation does not mean killing. It's just interaction. It's just that it has to be in a place called security environment. Hence, I don't see any big deal. For me, I always say that they invited him, go to the place, right? They ask him questions, isn't it? Upon his answers, they let him go. So for any Nigerian to feel that is an insult on whatsoever, being a Labour president does not make you the president of the country. So you don't have immunity. And on the issue of, we don't want to dwell on the political issue of Labour Party or whatsoever, because we all know that the board of trustees of any organizations are the owners of that organization. So we don't want to dwell on that. So I love his courage. I love his forthrightness to ensure that things get better in Nigeria.
Let's go back to your statement over him being invited for interrogation and then him attending and all that. I remember when we had that conversation, it was the first time he was invited. And he never turned down the invitation, neither did he say he wasn't going to attend the invitation, right? And then we had reports later on that he went with his lawyer, with other members of the NLC, which they were invited him, like you suggested, right? So now the NLC, just like Chuba has mentioned, they're saying that he wasn't invited for any interrogation. Well, he was picked up at the airport, according to them.
Yes, you see, we are not there. And I also know that our senior brother, the elder statesman, Mr. Femi Falana of this SAN, is someone who has always stood for the Nigerian advocacy for a better governance. And the last time we discussed here, there was a forum where he spoke, the NSA president spoke, the former vice president spoke, and thereabout. And I said, on this issue, then we must get a result, if all of these folks are now together. So I think the issue of invitation, most times people liken it to be, it must be in a written form. I have traveled abroad before, and while at the exit of the airport, the security operative, they stopped me and invited me to a private room and questioned me. While I was answering, they were checking the system. I don't know whether you get it. Is there any invitation for me that when I come to that country at the airport, I should report myself? The answer is absolutely no. So you're saying
that there was no need for an invitation before he was arrested?
The invitation is in different forms. So I'm only saying that, like our brother, the senior advocate, has explained, that the reason why he was invited was on a different reason.
And then the federal government said that he was invited and then didn't attend, and then he was traveling and being apprehended at the airport.
So the issue is, maybe there was communication error. It's possible that the DSS may have sent out the invite.
But this is not the first time that they're sending out an invite. How come we heard the first one and didn't hear the second one?
I'm only just saying. I'm not holding brief for anyone.
It's looking like it.
If the federal government is alleging that there was an invite for our brother, Ajaero, and he failed to honor the invite, and now he's traveling out of the country, that's why I'm saying that possibly there was a communication error. Maybe the letter was sent and did not get to him.
The UK TUC have accused the federal government of, going against the human rights. They've accused them of human rights abuse. In your analysis, do you see this as a case of human rights abuse?
Which part of the human rights abuse? When we talk about human rights, we have several. The fact that he was invited, if he's on that ground, and then also was released, I don't think his human rights was abused, because this is just a security issue, and then you were invited, you were not manhandled, just can you share this information that surrounds you?
Well, threats had to be put out by various parastatals saying that they were going to shut down the economy if he's not released by midnight.
No, you see, the issue of...
Before we heard of his release by midnight.
You see, yes, the threats or no threats, it's not the first person that Nigerian government have detained and is still in detention, despite every threat. So I do not think that the security operative released him because of the threat. I've always said that if the invitation is made and then he honors, after explanation and nothing incriminating around him, he should be lawfully released. I've advocated that. And I still maintain my ground that upon the invitation, I'm sure, like he is clearly alleging right now, that it looks as if they are just looking for evidences surrounding those allegations and suspicion. Because as we speak today, they don't have one. And I want to commend him for not being a victim of those allegations. So it means that he's an upright leader, and he should remain that upright.
Chuba.
Yeah, you see, I want to believe that we're a country that is so funny in our mode, what's it called, of operations. And it is imperative that we keep speaking up on opportunities like this. And by the grace of God, the government or the managers of our government will be able to hear and do things differently. I want to believe that these are packs of lies. Because if situation of this magnitude, at a time, a precarious time as such, in the history of Nigeria, we are buying fuel at 1,350, 400. And NLC, you are already hearing that they say the mother of all protests will come up on October 1st. People are already finding one or two noises of that nature. And in the midst of all of this, the NLC president is apprehended in the manner he was apprehended at the airport. A sincere government who wants to do things rightly will just come out with a publication of the letter. We are seeing these issues happen when government are sincere. When government feel that they are on the right, this is the letter that was sent to him, XYZ date, and this was the time, this was who received it, this was what transpired, this was what transpired. But up until now, we are still talking about yes say and no yes say. The man that was apprehended has come out to make a public statement and told the world that what I was apprehended for are connected to everything that I've asked me before, which I've made clarifications to that effect. And with all due respect, I have every reason to believe that they're only looking for things to hold me down. Now, I'm not holding brief for anybody, but be that as it may that, for instance, there's any similitude of what the government is even claiming. Because today we have a government that is so reckless in statements, to the extent of its accusing, I make bold to say that, accusing him of treasonable felony. Even to those people that caused the insurrection in the capital, they are not even charged for treasonable felony. Do you know why? Because it is a crime against the nation that cannot be excused. It's a death penalty crime. And upon that strength, everybody wants to use terminologies rightly in where people think rightly. If for instance, we concede that without conceding, but we accept that what they are saying is it has any semblance of reality. One of the most reputable security organizations in the world, called the Interpol, has given the Nigerian government a list of supposed people who are sponsoring terrorism in this country. Terrorism, people that are sponsoring terrorism in this country. Some of them using Nigerian government funds to sponsor terrorism. A list was given to the Nigerian government. At a point in this country, the Assistant Security Services brought out a list of companies that have been siphoning this country of our common patrimony. What has government done with credible investigation, a private organization that have brought out information of this nature? What did the government come out to say? We are not going to shame terrorist financiers publicly. That is the stand and the statement of the Nigerian government as we speak today. Then how do you think that the average Nigerian, in sincerity of conscience, would react to a man who is supposedly, whether accepted or not? I have been here to lampoon Ajaero over and again, and in for us, because Ajaero had some of the Ajaero led the NSC and TUC. They had an opportunity where this government removed the subsidy and the price of petrol product skyrocketed to the high heavens. They had an opportunity at that point in time to write their name in gold, stand their ground, shut down everywhere, let the government begin to think with their brains. Because you cannot employ people in the NNPC and keep paying them over and again, and they are running the country aground. In the midst of all of this, an arrest of this nature happens. And they think that it is not worthwhile for the Nigerian government to come out clean to explain to the Nigerian people what is happening and what is not happening. That Mr. Donald Trump was shot, was an assassination attempt was made on him. The CIA director was asked to resign immediately at the floor of the at the interrogation center at the Congress, because that is gross level of incompetence. In Nigeria, everything goes. So if this matter is not something of seriousness, if it is not the governor, the president, the deputy governors who have immunity, therefore anybody can just be acted and treated anyhow, and we are going into what we consider, let us not use the phrase, but a republic that is not in line with modern realities. And we must call
Thank God you didn't use the phrase.
We must call it spade a spade.
Thank God you didn't use the phrase. But Truba, since you mentioned subsidy, let's talk about